Hello, and welcome to today's Studio Armor Review. Today we're going to cover the Dragonmasters of Lorien heavy support choices that I currently have. In front of you, the model you're looking at is my Stegodon. You might call it a Steracodon, whatever you want to call it. It's essentially based off the large Triceratops type of a dinosaur, a very large version. This model that I have here is the old Lizardman Stegodon. Now the current Games Workshop model, the plastic version, has a couple different head configurations. There's a little more variety you can put into that, and so I do plan on getting a few of those. All of these all of the Stegodon model variations will count as Carnifex of one sort or another. Carnifex, in their base form, translate very, very well into a Triceratops-like dinosaur. If you think about it, they're all about close combat, charging, and tearing apart armor. And when you have a D3 attacks on the charge, you're looking at, not D3 attacks, but D3 Hammer of Wrath attacks on the charge. That sounds a lot like, 3 horns that could penetrate the armor of a tank with enough force behind it. In addition, the upgrades you can get, the tail. This particular model that I'm using has the equivalent of a bone mace tail, so it has additional tail attack. I also have, if you think about the idea of having the possibility of upgrading to crushing claws. Again, having that parrot beak-like mouth makes it very, very AP2-ish armor being kind of an attack, tearing open armor vehicles like tin cans. That's kind of the image I've got in my head. It works out pretty well. Its save is a 3-up armor, and the Triceratops have these bony frills. That's going to give them some good armor. This particular model variant has some back carapace type of scales to give, again, more armor, and just the tough hide that it's going to have can all represent the heavier armor. Now, when you look at the fact base strength is 9 and toughness is 6, with 4 wounds, I mean, this is a very robust model. The visage of a Triceratops type of an animal really kind of gives you the idea of a powerful, tough, hard to kill creature. So again, just in my mind's eye, it just translated very, very easily. It was very easy to come up with a stand-in for the Carnifex. Now, one thing you can do with Carnifex is actually give them a couple different shooting attacks. I don't plan on doing this most of the time, and if you do remember this, if you saw my House Clan armor reviews, where I looked at the Wraith Lord, you'll recognize this model, which also stands as my Wraith Lord for that army. And as a result, I am able to I've magnetized the howdah that can go on the back. So this will allow me to put on some representation of weaponry. So in this case, it could be spine banks. Nice, simple. You got a couple guys up there with something that could shoot. So it will end up being a small blast. Now these are right now looking at crossbowmen, representing the shuriken catapults that the Wraith Lord has. But these could just easily be crossbows with basically grenade-like charges at the end of them. I am probably going to fashion a purpose-built howdah for this one. But like I said, most of the time I don't run my Carnifexes with any shooting attacks at all. Not really too interested in doing that. But if I ever change my mind, again, this howdah, I've got, this could be standing for any of the, what do you call those, the Devourers. I can even put weapon mounts on the side there. So either way, I've got the entire Carnifex build out covered. So when you think of Exodites, you are thinking large dinosaurs usually, but these aren't usually the dinosaurs you're thinking of. More often than not, the dinosaurs you're really thinking about are what are called the megadons. And the megadons really are primarily depicted as sauropods of one sort or another, like the brontosaurus or apatosaurus on the left. But really, it's any huge gargantuan dinosaur. And of course, I have the Protoceratops model on the right too, that is of the same size, and normally represents my Warp Lord, which is a Turbogon. But both of these are representing the megadons armed with a special weapon that took a little bit of time to interpret. These that represent the Exocrine. Now, when I had a gaming acquaintance of mine a couple years back who was playing Tyranids, and he had some of the old Armorcast models. And I saw the Armorcast Exocrine, and it was a pretty substantial model, fitting on that large monstrous creature base. And so I kind of used that as my inspiration for the size, saying, yeah, this will work on a Megadon. So I had to think of, well, how can I use that, explain that weapon, because it spits bioplasma, and which is basically got two configurations. One is a 6 shots, or one is a large blast. Either way, it's pretty powerful. But again, how do you represent that? And one day I was reviewing the Eldar Codex, and I noticed the Fire Prism now had 3 different configurations. And I thought, that's it. I could have the stream, or a focused beam, or a larger blast. The Exocrine has a bioplasmic cannon, and so I decided to call that my Exodite Prism Cannon. These Exodites live in a pretty normally forested regions, so they do travel and graze the herds out in the plains as well. There's not a lot of room or need for a long-range beam weapon like the Fire Prism itself has. However, the same concept where you have a focused beam that could be unfocused, dispersed, would work in short-range environments like the jungle. So I decided to take that same crystalline approach, and Fire Prism has a crystal that focuses or disperses the beam, and create a gun that would sit on the back of the Howdah and fire at whatever target it decides, either in a focus pattern, getting me 6 shots, strike 7 AP2, or giving me 1 shot, large blast, strength 7 AP2. Either way, it's a nice and powerful weapon at 24 inches. It's something that the enemy has to worry about. They have armor 3, so I'm thinking tough skin, 5 wounds. So Megadon fits because these are large, strong, tough, multi-wound models. They have 3 attacks in a charge, in a close combat. Representing the fact that it can buff at you. It's gonna kick you and knock you, bite you, all that kind of stuff. And it has a tail. So in this case, I was able to add the threshing tail to kind of represent the tail attack as well. But then what I had to do is come up with a gun model for the back, because I didn't really want to butcher a Fire Prism, or a Fire Prism's gun. So what I did was I grabbed actually a couple different pieces. You might recognize the top fin is from a Wraithlord arm. I believe that's where it's from. Just one of the fins. The flask on the back is from a Wraith Knight. The back housing of the gun itself is actually from a wire cap. So you twist your wires together, and then you screw this on to hold them in place and protect them and insulate them from the outside. And then what I did is I glued in basically a crystal. I guess it'd be more like it's a faux lead crystal for like a chandelier kind of stuff. and so I fit one of those in and used green stuff to build a cage around it at each facet break. And then at the very front, using a piece of jewelry, it's from some make your own jewelry kind of kits or packages, was the end of just an ornate piece that would be in an earring or something. All that came together to make my Exodite prism cannon. So now I had a gun that went on the back of my Exocranes, stand-ins, my megadons. So I typically try to run both at the same time, just because, again, I want to give my opponent a dilemma. He's got a lot of other stuff to shoot at, but he's got 2 Exocranes to deal with, 2 high-strength AP2 weapons. You know, these will clear out Terminators very quickly, and will clear out some of the larger creatures very, very well too. So these are a serious threat, and to just bring one of them is a little bit on the oh, I don't know what you call it, a weak side. Weak's not quite the right word, but it's putting all my eggs in one basket. There aren't a lot of Strength 7 AP2 attacks available across the codex for the Tyranids, and so I had to figure out a way to concentrate that firepower. Now these are not, obviously each individual model is a separate unit, which is good because that means wounds can't carry over. He's going to have to target each separately to try to get rid of both of them. You know, that's a total of 10 wounds he's got to deal out with 3 up armor save, and most of the time he's going to need 5s or 6s to actually wound it unless he starts using his heavy weapons. And if he's using his heavy weapons on these, he's not using it on some of the other important creatures that are staring him down and charging at him. So these are the represent the megadons of Exodite lore, and in 2 different configurations. I'm planning on getting a few more models like this to represent some of the other things. They're a good platform to represent the Tyrannifex, so I figured that'd be like an armored megadon. Just take something like a brontosaur to the left and give it some armored plate as well, and now you've got your 2-up armor that the Tyrannifex has. Give it its own weapon selection. So there will be more dinosaurs coming, just I haven't gone around to building those yet. As you know, I've already got a long list of projects in the queue. So I hope this gave you some ideas, maybe at least help you understand where I'm taking my Exodite army and how I'm able to translate the Tyranid Codex and some of their units into a more Eldar Exodite kind of style. Go ahead and share, like, and subscribe. Comment below. Let me know if your thoughts of any of this. And we'll see you in the next Studio Army review. All right, bye-bye. Thanks.